Welcome to the Provoke Media Podcast. I'm Megan Keogan, Head of Partnerships and host of today's episode. Niche practice acquisitions are increasingly seen as a major growth strategy across the industry. The value they bring and the insights they offer are key to many facets of an agency's long-term strategy. With us today to talk about these takeaways and to share more about the benefits they've seen in their own firm are Leah Markham and Kristen Levine from French West Vaughan. Thank you both for being here.
Great to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Kristen, why don't we kick off with you? Can you tell us a little bit more about how you came to be a part of French West Vaughan and your background a little bit?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So I started my work in the pet space about little over 30 years ago. I started out as a PR director for a large animal shelter in the Tampa Bay area called the SPCA of Tampa Bay. Spent 15 years there promoting pet adoption and responsible pet care. And then in 2003, 20 years ago this year, I started Fetching Communications, which was a PR agency dedicated exclusively to the pet and animal health practice. Fast forward about 15 years later, I sought out a partner to help us be able to attract a broader range of clients, and was fortunate enough to meet Rick French and the folks at French West Vaughan, and they acquired Fetching Communications in 2017. So today I am the senior counsel for the pet and animal health practice at French West Vaughan.
Very fun. And we are going to get into all of the nuances and perks of working with the industry of puppies and pets later in this episode, which we are all looking forward to. So thank you, Kristen. Leah, tell us a little bit more about your role with French West Vaughan and sort of the capacity that you work with Kristen in this space.
Yeah. So I have not been fortunate as Kristen to be involved with the pet industry for quite as long, other than, just a lifelong love of pets. But my official involvement in the pet industry has actually been only for the past few years. I oversee the day-to-day of the pet practice within French West Vaughan and work really closely with Kristen on all of our clients in the pet and animal health space. So I know we're gonna get into some of those clients in a few minutes, but yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Well, a very interesting merger, because not everybody has the benefit of getting to work with our beloved furry family members as part of their day-to-day agency practice. Can you kind of take us through initially how this particular niche practice has fit into French West Vaughan's like greater landscape and some of those early takeaways from its learnings?
Yeah, absolutely. So French West Vaughan was founded in 1997. So we actually celebrated our 25th anniversary last year. And our CEO has a history of seeking out strategic partnerships and acquisitions that have over the years grown the agency and its capabilities from what started as a PR agency to now a fully integrated agency. There's been a series of acquisitions over the years, and Fetching certainly was one of those key ones. The result of which is French West Vaughan is now the largest independent PR agency in the Southeast and the 17th in the country. And those acquisitions have certainly played a role in that. I think that it's very evident that Kristen mentioned our CEO, Rick French. He recognized very early on the importance and the potential in the pet and animal space, which was certainly something that, factored into that decision to acquire Fetching.
Yeah, sure. And I can add to that too, just speaking about the growth in the pet space. Back in 1997, when French West Vaughan was founded, pet spending was only $17 billion. And last year, it was at $123 billion. So we're talking about, triple digit growth. I would love to say I, foresaw the growth, and that's why I started my practice. I just got very lucky, actually. But they say that the pet industry is recession proof, and that has held true for the last couple of decades, and hopefully will continue to hold true. It's for just if we're talking about the benefits, of this partnership coming together. You know, for fetching, a relationship with French West Vaughan meant a significant expansion of our resources and expertise in consumer marketing, because as a small niche firm, we were, depending on the year, we were anywhere from a team of 6 to 12, and we started out as a PR firm. So we really struggled after the first like 7 or 8 years to keep up with you know, the evolution of digital marketing and social media, and it just became more and more of a challenge for us. So the partnership has been, you know, really fantastic for not only our team but our clients as well, because now we have capabilities that expand well beyond PR, including creative, social media, and operations and more.
Certainly. And Leah, when we look kind of on the inverse of that, which would be what French West Vaughan has sort of gleaned or learned from like this highly specific practice or expertise space, would you say that there are kind of parallels to how French West Vaughan, the greater agency, has also been able to like take a cue here and there or apply that to other campaigns or clients?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think in general, French West Vaughan, you know, we're experts at consumer marketing, and we're experts in connecting consumers, you know, of all different shapes, sizes, backgrounds, with, you know, our brands and the clients that we work with. So that, combined with this really niche expertise that we gained when we acquired Fetching, really gave us a unique competitive advantage that sets us apart from a lot of other agencies. We frequently talk to new business prospects in the pet space that reach out and say, we saw that you had this specialized pet practice, but we didn't realize that you were, you know, part of a larger agency that has this general expertise in consumer marketing and all these additional resources and arms and, you know, things that we can leverage and different levers that we can pull. So it really does set us apart from a lot of other agencies, and in a good way.
Yeah. In terms of like the audience of like pet owners or like especially when we look at like the consumer side of some of Fetching's existing audience when they brought that in, have you found like that there are overlaps of like various like audience demographics that have allowed you to sort of tap the Fetching audience in a way that maybe you wouldn't have for a different campaign with like cross interests?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's one of the statistics that we learned from the client, American Pet Products Association. Their National Pet Owner Survey says that 70% of American households have at least one pet, and so I think you could arguably expand that to another vertical, such as outdoor or travel or tourism. People who live an outdoor lifestyle or an active outdoor lifestyle, or people who love to travel. Probably 7 out of 10 of them also have pets, and so it's a really unique opportunity to be able to tap into those really specific interests of those consumers in ways that you might not. In this case, in ways that we might not if we weren't a partner practice.
Totally. Those overlapping consumer insights and kind of giving you a different talking point and entry segue into an audience for possibly unrelated campaigns or products or agency work. So I think that's really interesting.
I think the other, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was just going to say, I think the other, you know, obviously we're all looking to grow our businesses, and, you know, one of the from the new business perspective, the first year of our merger with French West Vaughan, we were able to acquire a key account in the animal pharmaceutical space, and also they had an arm that was over-the-counter products for companion animals, and that nearly doubled our pet practice, you know, within the first year. So this was an account that Fetching Communications on its own, prior to, you know, becoming acquired, would not have been able to land that account, because we simply didn't have the resources to serve all their needs. And French West Vaughan, on the other side, they didn't have the pet expertise prior to joining with us. So you know, that's kind of an obvious reason that agencies look to, acquiring these niche practices. And then subsequently, we were able to land a lot of what I call dream accounts that I always wanted to see fetching working with, but we just weren't positioned well in terms of resources. So it's been a great win-win.
It does sound like extremely mutually beneficial, just in the scaling capabilities. And how fun for you, Kristen, to be able to get to like scratch the surface of I think anyone here with us today will have all known the understaffed, under-resourced agency life at various points, where we all have our dream accounts. And what a fun way to like crack those, or be able to experience those and bring that super niche expertise to them in a way that those clients also might not have been able to previously tap expertise also.
Yeah, exactly.
I keep thinking as we've been like kind of learning about the merger of or the acquisition of your practice, and kind of like how the benefits go both ways. It really resonates a lot to me, like how we talk about the value of the micro influencer today. Like I know that these are two totally different topics, but there is kind of a similar analogy there, which is the value of your ability, Kristen, to speak to a highly defined, highly known audience in a way that a broader agency might not have been able to get through as effectively either. And I see like those as really huge, sort of hard to capture, not so tangible, but very present there.
Yeah, that is a great analogy.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's also interesting. Sometimes we have clients come to us, in the pet and animal health space, and, they might be smaller clients, and, they're really focused on, trade media relations, or, a very small, group of consumers. And, after we sort of work with them and they see some of the other capabilities we have, and we bring some of that general consumer expertise to the table, they sort of are able to walk away and go, oh, wow, I never realized that I should even be in some of these other spaces, or that, what we're doing is relevant for some of these other spaces. Like, Kristen mentioned the American Pet Products Association. They're just now starting to look at really making connections and expanding their influence to spaces like travel and tourism and hospitality and the outdoors. Well, interestingly, those are also specialized practice areas for French West Vaughan. So like, you start to see how a lot of those connections come together.
Very, very interesting. Well, we can't be here today talking about pets and animal health without actually talking about the pets. And we've done a lot of the business and the scaling and all that fun stuff, but I think we all want to talk about the warm fuzzy creatures in our backgrounds. I know we all discussed our resident pets that may or may not make appearances today. So I know that there is a shared love for our animals on this call. Let's see, who wants to go first? Let's talk about the changes, the age-old question, post-pandemic. What changes have we seen in the pets and animal health space? How are you working together to evolve through them and take us on that journey?
Yeah, I can kick us off. Kristen mentioned that thus far the pet industry has shown itself to be recession proof, but one of the things that was really helpful as we were sort of navigating the pandemic and its effect on the industry was some of the really great research that the American Pet Products Association does. So we were able to keep a really close pulse on consumers and attitudes during the pandemic, how people were shopping, how their purchasing behavior was changing, general attitudes and feelings about their personal finances, and how that trickles down to their pets. So that really helped us to keep a very close pulse on what was going on and be able to adjust our strategies accordingly. And I know Kristen can definitely speak to some of the specific trends that we were able to identify thanks to that research.
Yeah, so some of the notable changes that we saw happen during and after the pandemic were greater pet acquisition. More and more people were adopting or acquiring pets. as we were working from home, we were spending 24/7 with our pets. So we were really growing and building that human animal bond, to the point where a lot of folks just, it was more challenging to go back to work when that time came. And then of course, in e-commerce, boom in spending, as pet parents weren't able to get out and go to the store. So a lot more people were shopping online that may have otherwise been traditionally going to get supplies at the pet store, grocery store, that sort of thing. And then in terms of some of the trending products we've seen, they include calming products, tech and innovation, eco-friendly, sustainable products, premium pet foods and treats, and of course, health and wellness. One of the challenges that the pandemic brought about for our industry is veterinarians started to experience a lot of increased stress, because if you had to take your pet to the vet during the pandemic, you know how challenging it was. And it was very difficult for them to handle all the safety precautions, along with the numbers of people who needed to get their pets in to see them. They also have staff shortages. There's a shortage of veterinarians in our country right now. So those are things that are being worked on in the industry to alleviate some of that stress, and to be able to provide greater care for the additional pets that have kind of come into our lives since the pandemic. And then I think the last thing I would say is that, and this was already happening, pre-pandemic, but I think it was accelerated by the pandemic, is that the millennials and Gen Z, their adaptation of technology, since birth basically, has really led to explosive innovation in pet technology. And that's everything from telehealth. You can have a veterinary appointment, with your smartphone now, to GPS tracking, to health monitors for pets, and just dozens of other really cool innovations in the tech space.
Fascinating. I mean, really, like, so much that falls into also like that CPG area, that is almost, I can just see countless ways in which these overlapping consumer insights allow you to tap practices or services elsewhere in FWB to be able to bring them to better serve the FWB fetching clients and their consumers. And I just see such a sort of cyclical service ability to that. The other thing you actually noted was the challenges facing veterinarians and shortages there. And I see a big value in a niche practice would have that visibility, but those pain points might not be felt so acutely when looking at like a greater campaign, maybe that's approaching this from just a generic CPG approach, or a generic product or serviceability approach, like looking at your different stakeholders and knowing how they're kind of navigating something in a way that's totally different from other day-to-day experiences of whatnot. So I think that's a really notable insight, and certainly a service back to the greater firm to be able to tap those kind of pain points in a sensitive way.
Right.
Leah, in terms of working with big companies and small companies in this space, have you seen a difference in like how those outcomes play out, or how the serviceability of them takes place?
Yeah, it's interesting. And French West Vaughan as a whole has a history of working with clients ranging from small startups and local businesses to huge national and international companies. And we really approach, whether it's a small or big client, we really sort of approach it in a similar way. I mean, certainly there's, to your point in talking about the serviceability, sometimes with the really small clients, it is challenging to provide the level of service that those clients expect, even when budgets might, not be reflective of that. But French West Vaughan is very much a service first agency. And so we really do always strive to deliver the same level of service, whether it's a big client or a small client. with, of course, the hope being that some of those small clients we're going to help grow and they'll turn into bigger clients. I think a fantastic example of that, which is not at all in the pet and vet space, is Wrangler. Wrangler is one of our oldest clients. We've worked with them actually since before French West Vaughan itself was even started, and they were smaller when we started working with them, and we've really grown with them over the years, and it's been a great partnership. So we approach big clients and small clients in a similar way. It is interesting to go back to the pet and vet space. For the American Pet Products Association, you know, they're a leading trade organization, so they're obviously a larger company, a larger client, but a lot of their members are small businesses. And so we work with them, some directly, some indirectly on a regular basis. So we have that really interesting sort of dichotomy between that larger organization and those smaller businesses, all wrapped up within the same client.
Yeah, and I would just add to that there's a lot of mergers and acquisitions happening in the pet industry, and on the vet, the animal health side as well. So, you know, if a smaller client comes to us, you know, today, you know, they may be a startup company, but within a matter of just a few years, they can become part of a portfolio of a much larger company. So, you know, one thing that it's important for us to do, and this is with any client, but, you know, particularly you know, I'm so close to the pet space, I tend to think of this only happens in our world, but it doesn't. When we are working with those smaller brands or companies, it's really important to understand what their goals are, and if an acquisition is among their goals, you know, what results do they need that's going to attract the right acquisition partner. You know, there's been several accounts that Fetching has worked on over the years that started out really small, and now they're part of you know, some really big companies, including pharmaceutical companies. I just actually ran into a company that we worked with about 10 years ago who got acquired by a very large animal pharmaceutical company. It was really exciting to see, you know, how they'd grown.
Yeah, I love that you have this unique advantage of being able to, because you started as a small independent firm with some of these small brands, not only have you gotten to see your own agency grow, but you've gotten to take some of these clients along with you for the ride, and that has to be very satisfying.
Yeah, it's really rewarding.
Well, and one of the things that Kristen taught me early on when I got involved with the space was that the pet industry is fairly small. And I mean, I've seen it firsthand. It's like I've already seen clients that I'm like, wait a minute, we worked with them over here, and now they're over here with a bigger company. And then you really start to, it really is, it's a smaller industry than you might think. So I think Kristen's point's a very good one.
Yeah, I think everybody knows everybody, or at least it feels that way.
It's a good feeling to have. Should we talk about the future of the pets and animal health space? We've kind of started to scratch the surface, just that it's scaling and growing. But what does the future look like for FWB and Fetching?
Well, I referenced earlier that I triple digit growth since 1997, and I think just since 2011 there's been 115% growth in the pet space. We just keep exceeding spending records. As Leah referenced earlier in the discussion, the American Pet Products Association, the American Pet Products Association is going to be releasing their new numbers for spending from the National Pet Owner Survey. So we're really excited to see how much that number, assuming it jumps, there's no guarantee, but we're excited to see what that number looks like next month when they do reveal that. And just you know, pets just are good for us. They make us feel better. They make us happy. They provide mental, social, emotional, and physical benefits. And so I really feel strongly that even when, you know, when there's inflation, or, you know, when budgets are cut, you know, home budgets are cut, you know, pets are not the first to be cut. You know, pets, people are going to continue to spend on their pets. They want the very best, whether it's food, treats, toys, veterinary care, what have you. So I'm very optimistic about the continued growth of our industry.
It begs the question when we talk just about how much we love our pets. I know we are all dialing in remotely today, But is FWV a pet friendly office? Do you have dogs that walk around and
it would be very awkward now if we had to tell you no, but the good news is we are. We are. I do not have, I have two dogs, and one of them is better in the office than the other. And I typically will bring him to the office with me. I did not today because I figured, the one time that he would decide to bark would be when we were spending time with you, Megan. But yes, we are pet friendly. That's actually a great point. Some of those internal benefits, I don't really think we touched on those a lot, but there's definitely been some internal benefits like that have come about indirectly from the acquisition, from the fetching acquisition.
Yeah.
We were not pet friendly before we acquired fetching. We did not offer pet insurance to employees, which we do now. We celebrate National Take Your Dog to Work Day in a big way, which we didn't do before we acquired fetching. So there's definitely been some fun things like that on the internal side of things that have been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I would love at some point to see a not so scientific report about the mental health benefits of merging fetching into FWV, and, especially as we talk about so much mental health awareness right now post pandemic.
That is a good idea.
I suspect
that's
a good idea.
You guys have been one of the healthier firms, would be my guess, mental health wise, with all those therapy dogs roaming around.
Yeah.
Right. Somebody keeps
too.
asking, can they bring their cat? I don't know what the final verdict is on that, but I would die if I saw a cat just walking through the office.
Yeah, and I would just say most cats would probably prefer to stay home.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that's the outside of the box thinker who brings their cat to the office.
Another fun thing about our industry is it is perfectly acceptable for your dog to bark during a Zoom call when you're on a client call with a pet brand, or
that is true.
It makes us all a little more approachable. If only everyone shared that perspective, right?
I know. When I first got involved with the industry, I was on a call and my dogs went crazy in the background, and I'm desperately trying to, mute and get them quiet. And everyone on the call is like, "Oh, what are their names? Can we see them?" It's like, "Oh, this is fun."
New meaning to we've affectionately coined ours the coworker, and our third coworker in the house. But it really does kind of give new meaning to that when they know they're placed on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
Well, Leah, Kristen, this has been such a phenomenal conversation. We've learned a lot. We've scratched the surface. I'm excited.
Pun intended, right?
Yeah. Yes.
I was going to say that earlier.
When you talked about the perfect pairings of the cats, I had to withhold on the perfect pun. But anyhow, no, it's been really great to visit with both of you, to learn a little bit about the value not only that I think like a niche firm is bringing, but also the value of animals throughout all of our practice. I think there's something in learnings to be said about just the cultural benefits there too. And that has been fun to hear both of you speak to. I'm excited to visit your office, meet the dogs, meet both of you at some point down the road in person. But thank you both so much for being here.
Yeah, it was our pleasure. Thank you so much for having us, Megan.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. It's been fun.
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Were you about to say something, Leah?
Oh, no, I was just going to say thanks for having us. It's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Well, this has been the Provoke Media podcast with French West Vaughan and French West Vaughan Fetching. Leah Markham and Kristen Levine, thank you so much both for being here. And we are signing off.